Hi everyone, my name is Ellie and I'm one of the teachers of photography at Godalming College. I am primarily a photographer and I find myself interested in themes of mortality, so life and death, permanence and beauty within my own work. I studied photography at Plymouth University and got my BA honours there. And then I went on to do my PGCE at Canterbury Christ Church University last year. So one of the things that I want to do today is talk to you about some images that I find particularly interesting. The first one that I've got to show you today is from the series Mothers by Miyako Ishiuchi. She is a Japanese photographer. She created this series of work when she found out that her mother was terminally ill. And unfortunately, she'd had quite a strained relationship with her mother throughout her youth and her life. But when she found out that her mother was unwell, she wanted to try and repair that relationship. And she found that one of the best ways of doing that for her was to photograph her mother's belongings and things like that. And I think what this shows is how photography can play a very, very important role in memory and how we remember someone, how we remember our interactions with them, and who they were. The photograph is obviously in black and white, but the tones are very, very soft and delicate. They're very gradual. There's no harsh blacks or harsh whites. And this kind of depicts that level of sensitivity and care that went into photographing these objects and these items. And I think that's a really good example of how the visual choices that we make within images can be used to communicate a conceptual idea to our viewers. The second image that I'm going to talk about is this one from the series Southern Landscapes by Sally Mann. Sally Mann is an American photographer working in the southern US states. She is someone who, again, is similar to me, very interested in memory and immortality. Within this work, she visited historic Civil War battlegrounds in the southern US states. And what she wanted to do was kind of convey the importance of different landscapes. I think her artwork is very, very poetic. It's certainly quite eerie and mystic. And I think this really adds to that sense of history that can be attached to a place. The work here was created using the wet collodion process. Now that is a historic photographic process from the early 1800s. Collodion was actually something that they used during the Civil War to kind of essentially glue up soldiers' wounds. So there's that kind of historic connection between the process and the place that she's photographing as well. The final image that I wanted to talk about was this one from the series Twilight by Gregory Crewdson. I find Crewdson's work fascinating because, unlike the other two photographers that I've just showed you, we never really have any clues as to the concept behind his work. They're very, very dramatic, atmospheric images, but what they do is they raise questions for the viewer rather than answering them. When you look at this photograph, the two subjects are obviously kind of ignoring each other, they've got their backs to each other. That raises a level of tension within the image. We don't actually know why. There's no evidence as to why they might be ignoring each other. And then when you look a little bit closer, you start to see the details of the image. The woman in the photograph is looking down at her beauty table, her dressing table. And on there you can see a bottle of pills. Has she just fed these to the man? Is she intending on harming herself with them? We simply don't know. And I think that's something that's a really, really interesting aspect of the work. Crewdson often uses very, very large sets to make his work. So this is unlikely to be a room in an actual house, but rather kind of a stage, essentially. And I think it's fascinating. So hopefully you enjoyed that little insight into my interests. And I look forward to seeing you in September.